This video has a special thank you to patrons 80 Wood, Adam of Doom and Tease for the inspiration and for the miniatures as part of this particular video series. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you so much guys for making this possible. So welcome to this Space Marine 2nd edition restoration project of a game that was released in 1991. It's coverage given by Rick Priestley in issue 141 of White Dwarf, and we can see some wonderful images here of the box contents and artwork that illustrated this incredible edition of the game. My first look at the Eldar that we're going to cover today came from my very first White Dwarf, which was 147, featuring the Renegades box set and supplement to Epic Space Marine 2nd edition, with some evocative art from Jez Goodwin and John Blanche, and some wonderful models painted by the studio staff, featuring of course the Alatok craft world. And in this video I'm actually going to paint my very first Eldar Epic models. So I'm going to print them all up, putting them down onto a board here for them to be sprayed up in glorious white. And I have Troll Trader's wonderful range of TT Combat paints to help me out with Poster Boy Blue as my first colour to paint all of my Alatok Guardians with my airbrush. And when that was all done, I had the Falcons to do. So I thought as a nice base coat we're going to use some Khepri Sunshine Yellow, just so that if we had any imperfections in that white, they'll be completely covered by this nice base colour. As they were drying, I'm going to use the Khepri and some Spotlight Yellow to paint all the helmets onto all my Guardians, while watching some nice live streams there from Johnny Watson Gaming. And with all their pineapple helmets now painted, it was time to go all over all the weapons, now with the black and then with Supernova Chrome. Tank green was the colour I was going to use for all their bases, so I sat down each individual stand, propped them up with a bit of blue tack on a base, and painted each of the stands while watching something nice in the background. And I did go with a bit of EAA blue just to pick out all the defining areas on the miniatures individually. Spotlight Yellow was used then through the airbrush to give another coating to the Falcons to give them that nice glowing yellow. Then going back over them with a bit of Spotlight Yellow just to pick out some of the highlights and give them some added details. Using a fine detail brush, I went out and did all the black lining around the windows and the lasgun. And then I started going over the windows with the EAA blue just to give them some extra colour and some vibrancy. I blacked in all the weapons and the exhausts and everything else that needed to be painted in either black or metallics. And for the metallics I used the TT Combat Gunmetal. Now to distinguish all the different detachments of the Falcons and the Guardians, I needed to put in their own insignia and colour, so I split off all the Falcons into sections of 3, with each detachment with their own specific colour. Wanting to emulate all of those classic images I saw in White Dwarf 147, I did all the freehand of the crescent moons on one side of the panel, but not keeping completely to the original colour schemes. I wanted to give them a little bit of modern touch up with some gemstones here and there, and painting the guns black rather than their traditional gold as featured in White Dwarf 147. And thanks to my good mate Gordon Innes over in Scotland, I had these wonderful epic Eldar transfers, which came in just in handy as I needed some of those runes to put on the other side of the panels. So carefully cutting them out, I sectioned them off one by one, put them in some warm water, and considering their age, they really came off really nicely. So I was so happy that they were still perfectly usable after all this time. And after the decals had dried, I applied a matte varnish over the top of them just to seal them, and also for them to just blend in and to take off that sheen that transfers usually have when you apply them, and so they'd sort of meld into the colors behind them. Now it came to the fun part of applying all of those sort of tiger stripes to the yellow. And this is the most nostalgic part for me because this is really old school. And I was using a very fine brush that I use from the Vallejo range of, they're just a synthetic brush actually, to my surprise, and they work perfectly. Then came to the Guardians. I've already sanded their bases, and now it was time to apply some of this marsh green just to dull down that sort of goblin green looking sand. Yes, that's the color the sand comes in here, where I buy them from the hobby store in Japan here. And once that was dry, gave it a nice dark green, which really made the colors stand out. I just dry brushed them there with of the original green that I used for the bases. And that was it, guys. That's our Guardians and our Falcons done, which I'm really proud of. And this wraps up the Eldar for the first part of this 4-part series of videos, so I hope you enjoyed it. And in the next video we'll look at the Blood Angel Space Marines and how I painted those. So until then guys, take care of yourselves, enjoy your hobby, and I'll see you with another video very soon. Take care.